Hello, I'm Chad Boyd, Rangeland Scientist at the Eastern Oregon Agricultural Research Center, and I'm here to present an Eastern Oregon Ag Minute. Mountain meadows occur throughout the western U.S. In our area, they are typically found above 5,000 feet and provide an important forage resource for grazing livestock. Additionally, these predominantly grassland habitats and the abrupt transition to surrounding forest or upland plant communities creates a mosaic of habitats that supports a variety of wildlife species, including elk, deer, pronghorn, small mammals, and a diverse array of bird species. Because these meadows occur as subunits of larger, more extensive habitat types such as forest, meadows have received comparatively less attention from research and management professionals. I'd like to spend the rest of this week discussing the ecology of these areas, their use by agricultural producers, and some of the current challenges in management of these habitats. Yesterday I introduced the topic of mountain meadows, and today I'd like to spend some time talking about the vegetation in these areas. Mountain meadows are somewhat unique in that they are located in drainages, but are usually on flood terraces above the elevation of the streams which often bisect these habitats. This position in the landscape makes for a wetter site than the surrounding upland vegetation, but drier than streamside habitats. Recent research has shown that the type of vegetation present in a meadow is largely dependent on water table depth. In meadows where the water table stays within about 12 inches of the soil surface, the vegetation is typically dominated by sedges and water-tolerant grass species. If the water table ranges within 1 to 3 feet of the soil surface, grasses such as bluegrass become more dominant, as do rushes, which are also known as wiregrass. Water table depths greater than 4 feet yield increasing abundance of grass species. These communities are generally found near the meadow's edge, as meadow vegetation gives way to the drier upland species. Today I'd like to talk more about the management and ecology of tufted hairgrass, one of the more important native meadow species in our area. This cool season bunchgrass is dominant or subdominant in meadow and riparian systems throughout the western United States. It ranges from about 5 to 10,000 feet in elevation and generally occurs in areas with greater than 16 inches of annual precipitation. Water tolerance of this species is intermediate between more water-tolerant sedges and other less water-tolerant grasses such as Kentucky bluegrass. From an agronomic perspective, tufted hairgrass serves as an important forage source, and a fairly limited research base suggests it can tolerate moderate levels of utilization occurring prior to seed ripening. Wildlife species such as elk and mule deer also use this species as a forage source. Hairgrass is resistant to many toxins associated with waste sites and has proven useful for reclamation purposes. For the past couple of days, we've talked about some of the plant species that occupy mountain meadow habitat. Today I want to talk about woody plant encroachment into these habitats. Evidence from meadows in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California suggests that a given meadow may fluctuate between being invaded by trees and slowly changing back to meadow vegetation over geologic time. However, at present, the issue of woody plant invasion in meadows is a widespread management issue, suggesting a more immediate problem. Many have suggested that the root cause of the current invasion is a reduction in fire frequency associated with fire suppression efforts. Others have proposed climate change or changes in livestock grazing practices as causative factors. Regardless of what is driving these invasions, trees in meadow habitat represent a serious management issue. Over time, these trees may reduce forage production in the understory and devalue the importance of meadow communities for some wildlife species. And I'd like to finish up today by discussing livestock grazing issues. Since the latter 1800s, mountain meadows have provided an important forage source for summer livestock grazing. Due to the productive nature of these habitats, management of grazing distribution in pastures with meadow communities can be difficult, as cattle may prefer to congregate in the meadows. One strategy for dealing with this issue would be to use fencing to exclude livestock from meadow habitat. However, this option is often not palpable due to the value of the forage resources in meadow habitat. Another option is to fence the meadows and defer grazing until the latter part of the growing season. Under this option, cattle are grazed in the surrounding uplands until being turned into the meadows. The deferment option may have additional advantages in that research has shown that in the latter part of the growing season, cattle grazing meadow habitat may gain more weight than those grazing in the surrounding uplands. Additionally, deferment of meadow grazing until the late growing season can stimulate improved meadow condition and decrease impacts of grazing on nesting bird species. I'm Chad Boyd, and thanks for listening.